So, Julius, my friend, it seems like we're saying to you, many people read digital books. I talked about the 80-year-old man to the other day, right? And I said that 1.5K page book. He's basically saying to me, I want it as an ebook because it's a technical it's a manual. That's what he thinks it is, right? I don't really care about printing them. I just want them to be able to be distributed easily. So maybe there is a market, Julius, for your book to be an electronic book. But then I know many people who still like printed books. Now the audience, now let's ask the audience members. The audience, so those in the audience, please put in the comments, do you read paper books or do you read purely digital? Now just give us an answer. So put in the comments so Julius can take something away from here today for sure. Right. My friend, do you read paper books or do you read books or do you even listen to audiobooks? I do all three. So yeah, what do you do? I see you, Michael, and not you, Michael, on stage, not Mr. Calm. So I see you, Michael. I'm glad you're here. Michael's got his book about the immigrant's experience. So definitely one worth reading. So, well, I think we're looking at launching it sometime later in the year. So yeah, I'm so glad you're here. Right. I don't see anyone saying that they read print books or audio books. So Michael, at least Michael and Joni are giving you some ideas there, Julius. You have to make a choice, right? Again, I'm always stumped by, I guess, the what to call it? The energy we put into thinking about formats. If you got a book if you have an ebook, not you. If I've created an ebook for someone, it means I can print it because it's the same book. It's the same book, just like the print book just means it has a cover. And Amazon will do the printing for you, distribution for you, selling for you. I'm saying, so why would I not create a print book? Now, the print book normally costs more than the ebook. And then, of course, there's the hardcover version of the print book, which it lasts longer, stays together longer, but it costs more. And then I would ask, why would you want to do an audio book? Because you can. It's the same book, right? Same content. Once you finalize it and you publish it as one version, you can publish it in every other version as well. So I think everyone should. It's not everyone should. Let me stop shooting on all of you, right? Literally, we have to give our readers the options. The options. Thank you, Anthony. Thank you so much, my friend. And I say, the options I say in this ebook, paperback, hardcover, audiobook. Those are the formats we have today. So again, audiobooks can be, I guess, the audios on YouTube, or they can be audiobooks on Audible. There's hundreds of audiobook platforms. Kobo is another one. And I say Apple Books tend to do audio as well. iTunes. So Anthony says he's 95% listening to books, but with little paper book reading. Yes, Anthony, I'm with you, my friend. I don't really like reading so much on paper. Well, so no, I just mentioned Michael's book, say his book of the immigrant's experience. That touches on the topic, Joe. That's touching the topic of, I guess, immigrants.
I was just trying to say how I kind of start. I put a bunch of different topics and then I kind of web out from there. So, I think it's, and for Sharon's comment, nonfiction versus fiction. Fiction tends to sell better, but that doesn't mean that you can't write nonfiction. But nonfiction has to be cited really, really properly. You do a lot of, acknowledging whose work that was if it wasn't necessarily your own. So
yeah. No, I agree with you there. Sharon Rose, I think that there is a difference in where ideas come from when it comes to fiction. I think I can accept that. I don't think it's too far off. I think what we're talking about today still counts. But I guess I'm looking at the reality, Sharon Rose. That's people write crazy books.
I mean, like, let's say you lived on, some sort of like cult community, and you wanted to write a nonfiction book about your experience on there. Let you would have to get real life statements from other people to make it valid, and then you would have to kind of note like real dates and challenges that you faced. I'm just spitting here. I'm not saying
Yeah,
anything
you're thinking out
specific.
loud. No,
But
look, you can do the research. You can do the research to get your book to next to real as you can, right? Right. I think Sharon Rose, the best fiction books, they're crazy. They take you to an outer world. It's unimaginable. You see, it leaves me thinking, Sharon Rose, half the time, who's the crazy one? Is it you that's come up with that crazy idea, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe? Or is it me who's actually reading it, trying to get into that world that you just told me to go into? I think I'm the mad one for reading your stuff.
I truly love that series. I just love it. It's like my childhood. Like I just like my dad started reading those to us when we were little, and I have continued through the series. I love Harry Potter. The people who are like really down with getting into a new world, like I love a lot of sci-fi, and so it's a transportive.
Yeah,
Is that the word?
it wasn't that transport the
It
reader into that.
transports you to like something else.
Yes,
But a
yes.
lot of women really like this like kind of vampire kind of love theme. And I don't. I do not love that. I don't. But it sells. It sells. And if you're into it, then maybe you could create like a content like that. That would be great.
Yeah, what about that? And that teen romance. I mean, look, the fiction books are in a different world, because then I think I see your point now, Sharon Rose. It requires you to have that imagination to go way beyond what anyone else can see. To go beyond what's normal, what's rational, what's possible. I don't say no. I don't know whether the best books are truly outlandish. I mean, to think of the different bits of Harry Potter it blows my mind. There's a reality, Sharon Rose. If I publish 15 books this year already, my friends, none goes into the realm of real fiction that is unimaginable. I mean, Joni, your dinosaur book is as close as crazy as the books I've published this year. Of course, Paulette's kids' books as well. They do mean something. So where did your ideas, your dinosaur book on the Triceratops?
Well, yeah, so I wanted to write it. That's purely fiction, obviously, for kids. But I, heard similar type dinosaur stories from my dad growing up. And so that's where my idea came from. But then I added in like all of the stories I came up with, and then also added in historical facts about Triceratops and the other dinosaurs that were mentioned. So I guess it's kind of a combo, but it's really, I mean, it's for like 7-year-olds or 8-year-olds. And so it's kind of any fictional book if you do best if you like have some connection to it, like from growing up or from something you're interested in. You could write a book about like Tour de France, and it could be totally fiction, but because you love to watch that every year, you know a lot about biking and whatnot, you could make it really interesting about, a love affair happening between two different countries that, are biking on the same path. I don't know. I'm spitting. That's part of
Sorry,
that's part
sorry.
of
I could just
part one.
imagine.
You got to spit your ideas out, and then
Look, it's
it's good to have sounding board.
you can go crazy with fiction. That's you can truly let your creative juices flow, right? Literally, and you can be as mad as you want to be, but that's the beauty of fiction. And I think it takes a lot to go there, Sharon Rose. So I've not no, none of my authors apart from Joni has done fiction. But even then, Joni's, like she just said, hers is based on the stories that she was told when she was growing up, when she was a kid. So it's experience. It's also interest. The interest to delight kids, and maybe also share some insights into the lives of
I mean,
dinosaurs.
you could also do like Tour de France, and then
Yeah, you told them
one
from
of the bikers
they use
is
the side.
carrying
They
some
ride
like
bikes.
plutonium
They
that
ride
some
bikes. They ride bikes.
gang, but it's in his bike seat, and I mean, like it could be a total like thriller too. You see, the ideas just have to keep going. You
Yeah,
could be at a
Michael.
bookstore
Hold on. That's
and
something to
pick up
Michael.
a book, and all of a sudden there's like $2 million cut into it, and then you take it home, and then drug dealers are after you. I don't know.
You see, look, fiction can become popular because you are so crazy in your thoughts, and you say you can take your readers into a world that's, I guess, frees them from the real world. But most of us tend to write non-fiction books, right? But again, you can turn a non-fiction book into a fiction book just by telling the story from a third person, for example. And then you can change some facts. You can change some realities into something, into fantasy, right? But it's not easy. It's not easy at all. Michael, fiction. Do you have any fiction ideas at all? You can just say no, and I'll leave you alone. I go on to my next topic.
Um, no, most of my fiction ideas are probably related to outer space. Um, basically, uh, well, let's just say a group of humans travel out of space and looking for another colony or looking for another world to live on because Earth has been shattered and it's totally and utterly messed up. You can't live on it anymore. So you had to travel out to look for another Earth, and you find a place. But on that place there are other living people. There are other living species or you know uh, people, not necessarily humans, aliens. And you kind of like, okay, we got to reverse course, go somewhere else, but you can't go somewhere else because you're out of fuel or something ridiculous happens, some sort of major accident that forces you to actually land on that piece of Earth that there are other aliens on. Now you've got to figure out how you're going to, you know, live with them. And then on top of that, are they going to allow you to live with them? And how long are you going to be there? Because you're trying to figure out, can we, fix our stuff and get out of here? You don't know that because they're not so technologically based, but then they have all these physical attributes that are far superior to yours. And um, but at the same time, they're curious about you and uh, try to communicate, or at the same time, you try to break some sort of barrier language. Basically, it's like a first contact kind of a deal. And now you're stuck. You're in the middle of first contact, and now you have to negotiate, be diplomatic, and try and figure out how you can stay there together with them. And while you're there, you also have to engage in trading, engage in getting them to do stuff for you, trying to figure out how you're going to get back into space if you can. But what if you can't? So you have to figure out how you're going to stay there. Are you going to create a country for yourself? All those things that.
A country or planet?
No, a country. You're already on the planet.
Okay, so you didn't.
That planet belongs to somebody else, a different species altogether. But you have to. But you really have to engage with them now. You're stuck there. You can't do nothing except engage with them or fight them. And, get totally annihilated because they're bigger, they're stronger, they may not be as technologically astute as you are, but their capabilities are far more better than yours. Better hearing, in terms of physical attributes, they're far and beyond yours. But you have to live with them, and their food is like totally different. You can't tolerate it, But at the same time, there is some food over there that you can tolerate. So now you got to figure out how you're going to survive as a human species on that earth. Basically, that's what it is. How are you going to survive?
I'm giving Michael the time to talk because obviously he's sharing his ideas in private. Obviously, you're not Michael. It's recorded. It means go and listen to this, go and play this over again, and then turn this idea of yours into a story.
Yeah. So that's what it is.
Right. So a book needs to be 24 pages long. I'm sure you can create 24 pages of this Star Trek gone wrong book.
Yeah, kind of like that. Exactly.
I hear you. Thank you for indulging me.
Star Trek, Star Wars, whatever you want to call it.
Look, I don't watch TV programs. I don't watch TV because I can't. For this very reason, I can't deal with people's fictional fantasy ideas. The way they take their stories. I'm just not. I can't. I don't know. I don't engage. I don't watch series. I don't watch films. I don't watch dramas. I'm just not interested. I watch news sports.
You do engage, but you just say, that's just not possible. It can't happen. No way.
No. Right? What if I know it's not real? If I can't. If I can't be deceived by reality, I like reality shows, not like Love Island. I like reality shows like Murder Who Done It. That's my kind of program. So I don't deal with fantasy and crazy things. I'm mentally lazy, Michael. So as long as I see that it's not a real thing.
Oh, you're like my sister.
That's switch off.
Inspector Clouseau type.
I think I love science fiction so much. So Michael's or Calm's ideas they're just interesting to me. I just love hearing people's ideas, like what they are interested in. I always thought about writing a book about our Earth, like something has gone really wrong, but we somehow found like a way to get to a parallel universe, and then a lot of people go to that universe and start executing their person that lives on that earth and replacing them, and like how like the trickle down effect would work. So but like it wouldn't be just one person, it would be lots of people coming from our earth to their earth. And just how
you're eliminating the doppelganger. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So that has always been one of my ideas. But one other topic we haven't talked about is historical fiction, which I love. I especially love a lot of books that are set, in kind of like the Middle East area. So like The Kite Runner. That is one of my most favorite books, and it is fiction. But if you're going to write historical fiction, you need to do the research to make sure that that works well. If you're going to write a book about, whatever time in history, you have to make sure that you do that research so that you make sure that all the details line up. Like, in Civil War, like in America, they did not have, drywall in their house. So maybe you just learn how houses were built then. So that's sort of silly, but yeah, that's a genre I love. And I also absolutely love science fiction, and I love children's books more than anything. So, and I think a really good memoir comes from a really engaged speaker, like Brene Brown or something. Just it's hard. It's hard to get your memoir out there for anyone but you and your family. And so I really encourage you to do it. It's really great. But if you're wanting to make money, that's a whole different story.
Yeah, no, yeah, I think that memoirs can be helpful. If it's written from the point of view of how it can help people. And I mentioned Michael. At the so Michael at the Sandwell's book about immigrants, refugees. Like now that book, even though it's a memoirs type thing, it can still help people to navigate settling into, immigrating to a new country, for example. I'm saying that can work. I'm thinking of Sandra Botha's book as well, on Meeting Myself, which can, it can inspire people and guide them into finding peace to learn to speak their truths, no matter what sort of childhood they had, right? So memoirs can work. And if it works, I'd say if you ask yourself that question, what can people gain from this? Why am I writing this book? What do I want them to learn from reading my story? So Julius, my friend, you've made my day. So Julius says, so your answers helped him for sure. As I say, I agree, and many thanks for the comments made by members. My morale is high now. Yes, look, my friend, if you think, if your book needs updating, update it, right? Update now. So second edition, third edition. My friend, you have a cash cow there. You see, if your book is what people need, then keep updating it. Each time you update it, it's another book on your shelf on Amazon, technically, right? Yeah, look, if you want to talk about updating your book, let's talk and let's see whether I can help you. Sharon Rose says, I listen to books. I think many of us do. That's the way forward these days. So either read either paper or hardback or really digital. I read digital books, but I've never hit the net. I have a screen reader, so it will read everything to me anyway. So what they say in an ebook or print book, if it's on Amazon, I can read it on screen and be lazy. People send me books. You see some of my videos, my friends who send me books. I will read them. I can't say I finish them from cover to cover. I will read most of the pages to get the main message. That's why I do it. So Nat says, Julius, yes, it is. Now I have the flu. I managed to squeeze a mini holiday in as I became a godparent to the youngest two members of my extended family. Congratulations, Nat. Good for you, my friend. You're not old at all, Nat. You're still young, right? So Sharon Rose says, I like all forms of consuming knowledge and other types of stimuli. I get that completely. What else can I add? Jay,
how about a book?
Go on.
How about a book where, when you when women get into menopause, they become aliens, totally different species or creature.
Michael,
your mind changes.
You have to push it, Michael. Michael.
Yeah, but
They will
it doesn't have to just happen to women. It can also happen to men. You can say if
they will
they
shoot
get
you on
andropause,
Virgin, Michael. They will shoot you on Virgin.
No, it can happen.
That's akin to saying my mother turned into an alien.
I tell you, if you are interested in stuff like that, it will sell. And
Lisa, Michael's guiding you. Are you going to listen to the advice and write a book about how menopause makes people alien?
Oh, she's the perfect. I mean, she knows
Yeah,
all about me.
go and talk to her. Jay, I love Jay. It's not I'm not unable to. I refuse to, Jay. That's the thing. You see, my trauma came. I think I was probably 22, so we're talking about nearly 30 years ago, right? I took my kids to go and see some long ass film. What's it called? So there's Harry Potter. There's another series film, and in a big blockbuster thing in the cinema. I took my kids, some of my older two kids, go and the wife go and watch this film. And 3 hours later, Jay, the film did not end. The story didn't have an ending. I was furious. I decided from that day on, I'm never going to waste my time watching something that I don't know fits what I'm interested in, that starts and finishes. And who done a program, Jay, I know what's going to happen. Maybe I don't know who done it, but I know what's going to happen. Someone's going to die. They're going to find out who done it, right? I can do that. Watching something that is someone's fantasy gives me a headache. I don't want to play the game with you. I refuse. I just refuse.
Was there a movie called Lord of the Rings?
Yeah, that one.
Amazing.
Amazing. I watched that first one, Michael, and I was so annoyed.
Everybody loves
very
the first
long.
one.
I
felt so cheated.
but it's amazing.
I've never gone back. And I haven't watched any film since. I refuse. Before that,
But isn't it interesting how the turn? So I just put some statistics in the chat that younger Americans, let's say 18 to 30, are buying more print books than before. Like let's say 20 years before, and that's it's just an interesting stat that. Because that is true. I give my kids some money to go to the bookstore and they buy a book. They like having print books.
Yeah, people like having print books for sure, right? Now, Julius, so let's connect. Now, Jay says he wrote a short science fiction story about some time travel and alien tech in his language. Chimora. Yeah, see, Jay, I've learned something, right? It was published in a language anthology. Look, I think an anthology is a different kind of book. Listen, part of the reason we write anthologies, that whether you Marlene, whether you Dr. CJ, even Nicole, right? There's many others who do anthologies. I'm saying the reason we do them is because we don't have to think that much. I might tell a story in the book, but my co-authors bring their imagination, their experiences, their interests, their awareness, their expertise to the table. Now, Tracy, I see you. So glad you're here. Thank you for joining us. The audiobook queen. I'm glad you're here. Marlene says, I write historical fiction. You learn so much from the research. Again, many authors, Marlene, don't want to do the research. I don't want to do research half the time, but we have to, right? I'll do a room on what doing research for your book looks like. Because I guess it's how much do you want to go into the weeds? How much you want to learn? And then I think many people will spend their lifetime doing the research and never actually write the book, right? Which is fine. But there comes a point you actually have to write the book. Of course, I'm not saying you, Marlon. I'm saying that a lot of people they believe that they don't know enough to tell the story they want to tell. Whereas many of us can find a way, right? And that says, check out CM Palo, The Tempest Quest. And Dan Abnett and Mike, I don't know, who are Warhammer, The Chronicles of who? Malice Outplay. Is that a person or is that a thing? Right. I don't know. And I said, let me show you this just for you to, I guess, it take us to the world you want to go to, Sharon Rose, the worlds that we know. Right. Now, I keep talking about the alchemy bits, the bit where the magic happens. So you somehow have to combine our interest with our experience, with what the market needs, as we talked about already today, and maybe also with your job. Now, but there is something else missing, right? There's something else missing. So let me play this short video. It might give us some idea what this thing that's missing looks like. Let's hope this works. Okay, here it goes. Volume up. Yeah, not enough. Let's go for it.
Project or book or whatever you're writing. I actually did a little bit of research around the scientific sort of mean of how people come up with their ideas. There was a 1950s survey that kind of just asked scientists like how, like when, and how did you come up with those scientific discoveries? And contrary to what you might think, logic and scientific like rules and laws came quite later in the discovery of their new idea or new sort of revelation. And they kind of talk about the scientific breakthroughs being a sort of almost spiritual, kind of unconscious, fleeting thing that just had like arrived like to them, like an epiphany. Basically, we get epiphanies sometimes, like big revelations, but like scientists getting these random epiphanies interests me so much. It's like, what's going on in our brains, and how can we harness that sort of muscle, that sort of spiritual connection? I don't even know what it is, to be honest. But how can we do that? Kind of go through our projects and have breakthroughs and plot holes and everything like that. And I kind of think about my projects and when I am stuck with something or just like need to figure out something that isn't just clicking, and there's something in my project that I just need to make up. You know what I mean? I felt this with First Side, my debut novel, To Be, and I kind of basically turned my whole story upside down because I discovered something. And the process that got me there was sort of thing I call opening the metaphorical cupboard. And bear with I don't know if you guys have watched Narnia. I love the Narnia Chronicles, but The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. How there's a wardrobe that leads to a whole other world. Like, say your story is like in a room. You are looking at things, there's books, there's a bed. That's the main plot, perhaps. Like, we're talking very figuratively. Mhm. I struggle too. Anyways, and there's an invisible cupboard that you have not known about, and that's the key to your whole book. That's like the Narnia world to your characters. You know what I mean? So I think opening your senses and the possibilities of what your story could be is one of the main things that I found during like just thinking and mulling over this sort of concept or creative intuition, and just being that sort of receptive state, if that makes sense. So just generally, that's kind of like how I kind of conceptualize creative intuition. It's kind of just being available and being kind of just in tune with your story and open to what can happen in your book. And I talk in my blog about
That's all right. I mean, I like what she shares. I don't know whether you can. Let me hurry back to StreamYard. It's all right sharing. It's all right doing screen share like that, but it gets a bit messy after a while, right? So the point she was making is the idea that we can be open to almost inspiration that comes from God knows where. I mean, when I say God knows where, I use the word deliberately. God knows where. Literally, it could be from God. How you doing, Tracy? It could be from God. It could be from who knows, right? That's what you're saying about imagination, Sharon Rose. We need to be. I think that's the real alchemy in all of this. Even though I'm going to talk about this topic, maybe say 4 times. Next time we can talk about how do you actually research the market? But I think there's still that need for the your creativity, your craziness, the world you see in your eyes. Because we all see the world differently. I think that we have to find a way to add that uniqueness because no one else can do that. That's what makes our book different to others. That's what makes our book stand out. The question is, how do we tap into that source? I wish I knew. How are you doing, Tracy? Talk to us. Welcome on stage. Another great background. Have you paid for this, Tracy? You must have paid for this background, right? No?
It's a virtual virtual background.
Yeah,
I take this specifically to match your background, the things like lessons we learned from coding. It's very kind of like in the code, the tone, to match. Okay.
I like. No, they're remarkable. I don't get those options on my StreamYard or on my Zoom. So,
But thank you so much, Andy, for this opportunity. I get your events as my rehearsal for my live events. Thank you.
Excellent. Yeah, so, and I know your husband wrote a book. Have you ever written one? Are you going to write one? Are you working on? Are you thinking of writing?
I wrote one chapter in one anthology with Nicole.
Excellent.
And I think Melissa, Leslie, like 21 of us last year.
Yeah.
And then I can say the ideas, you ask about book ideas. The ideas are limited as long as you look for it. There are two types of authors. One is very thoughtful. Everything came here, from their heads, their brain. And the other one is being very curious. They draw from everywhere. People, environment, the earth, in the clouds, the sky, satellites, universe. Okay, so I like the second kind of person because it just, it's more entertaining. Like the YouTubers, TikTokers, they just get the ideas from nowhere, but actually anywhere, right? They scroll down the websites, other people's chats, other videos, they pick up ideas instantaneously. Not necessarily copy, but they make it better to get inspired. And that kind of creativity is what we need to fight off artificial intelligence.
Yeah, well, and I said, now be more us, right? Tell our stories with our uniqueness. No, thank you so much, Tracy. It's something that say we need to find that uniqueness that you mentioned, Marlene, for sure. So even if you're telling a non-fiction story and it's a factual story, there's still a need to find that twist. Maybe it's not a twist. That's extra bits that other people haven't, that they don't know, that only you know. Again, as Tracy says, there's so many things that come to our minds that we can work with, right? It's whether we want to go there. And also whether we're willing to listen enough to really refine the idea. Again, as Joni said, we're have to be willing to go crazy, right? Welcome. Lachelle, you're here. You've made my day, Lachelle. How are you? I haven't seen you for a few weeks now. How are you doing?
Oh yeah, I'm doing good. I was kind of overcoming some infection that my son gave me. He came down with something. He's a football player, but I'm doing better now.
And there was your car thing as well. I am glad you won. I must tell you won it. I thought your photo was quite good. How you had your car smiling. It's not really smiling, is it? The last time someone they read the back of my car, and I just thought, that boot is smiling. So I wasn't smiling. It was wrecked.
It was so crazy. Yeah. And the thing about it was I was actually asleep. My husband was driving. So,
wow.
You wake up to seeing the back of a car in front of you. Okay.
Yeah.
But it's all good. I'm glad I was able to walk away. Everybody was, no injury. So it was a blessing.
Indeed. No, we are all glad you're in one piece. That's important. In case my friends you don't know, Lachelle's written several books. Five, I think, at the least, right, Lachelle?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So where do the ideas come from for you? So I've talked about that we tend to write from experience, from interest, from our job, our expertise, in other words. And then many people these days will research the market to see what they think the market needs.
Yeah.
But like I've just shown in the video I just shown, I think there's an alchemy bit, which is, is it spiritual? I don't know. There's something extra that every author has to add to the book to make it different to everyone else's book.
I think, I think you're bringing up some great points. I think, all those are true when it comes to where the content comes from. And I think, we limit the books that we can author because we feel like nobody would find value in it. You think about a mom who she's just doing what she needs to do every day in terms of making it through a day with children. And so she could have a book on how to organize your day or, quick meals or habits to instill in your kids when you're dealing with them in extracurricular activities. I mean, it's so many teachable moments. I think that for me, it expanded once I started writing, because when I thought about being an author, I thought about like Shakespeare and, all these great poets, and I just felt intimidated by it. But when I reframed the fact that it's just me sharing my experience in ways that I do things that could benefit other people, then it really expanded to, you could have a cookbook. You can talk about what it's like to potty train, right? I mean, there's so many different ways that you can really share your knowledge.
Yeah, look, I love the concept of thinking about teachable moments. I do love that. I think that's that's part of the trick, right? That's where we need to go. That's where many ideas will come from. Yeah, so of course that still goes into our experience, something the things we know about, some things that we are really experts at as well. So
how to bunker busting.
Michael, I'm gonna meet you.
And Lachelle, I think I liked your comments because it made me think of a lot of times during the holiday season you give family books, at least I do, but cookbooks and also coffee table books. And so they're so beautiful to have like a big book of something interesting. Like I have one on Italy. I have one on the Beck's mixology, in Chicago. And it's so if you're really into photography, like that could be a really cool idea as well to create something.
Yeah, look, we have so many opportunities. I think areas that we can go down. So, like as Lachelle said, we tend to limit ourselves. Jay, let me come to you. I don't want you to.
I was going to say too with that, Annie. They have those little books that you can get from Shutterfly. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but my mom, every time we have like a like a memorable event, like my daughter had a baby shower, for her first son. And so she took all the pictures and created a book out of it. And she gave a copy to me, a copy to my daughter, and then she kept a copy. But like weddings, you can put all the wedding pictures or, you can make your own coffee table book with your own family history. So it's so many different things that we could do that we just, again, I think if you think too much about appealing to a larger audience, that you'll never get started. But if you think about this would be great for my family or, my friends or coworkers, then it will organically build from there.
Yeah, I think we call them picture books in the UK. I can imagine you saw someone in your family in the end combining all these different picture books into one big book. Because you have something, you got pictures. That's I think media is useful in the books. Well, in some books.
I thought in England we call them tea books.
Yeah, okay, it's a brand that makes them for us. If you think of it that way, right? I think Picture Book is a company here that I know about. It's a good way to keep a record.
Well, I guess UK people are kind of strange. I like the coffee.
UK people are strange. You know what we think of Americans. On the goodness, I'll leave that alone. Let's talk to Jay. I know Jay might be in a hurry. How you doing, Jay?
Doing good. Thanks for having me on, and for Joe encouraging me to come on. So, I look at thinking about the topics, and I look at the end first and go backwards, right? Where do I want to end with this? And then that's where I get the idea of who the audience is, right? So initially, I wanted to write this science fiction story totally in English. And then somebody asked me, hey, would you like to be in this anthology using the indigenous language, my language from home? And I said, do we have anything on file anywhere that's in the indigenous language that's a science fiction story? And the publisher said, no, you would be the first. And so I said, well, let me be the one to kick open the doors here and use the indigenous language to tell this fictional story and science fiction on top of it. And so I think when you look at where you want to go, right, in the beginning, it kind of, you're like, I don't know who this is going to be for. So sometimes you have to go to the end and go, I want to do a science fiction novel or a story, and then build from there and go backwards. Who will be the audience for this, right? Sometimes you got to start at the end. But, one of the first rules of engagement in storytelling is know your audience. And that's the book I wrote and you published. So thank you for that. But, the audience is the key. Who is it that you're trying to look at? Who is it that you want this person, or your what they call sales avatar sometimes? Who do you want to read this story? Who do you want to gain a message from the story, or anything that you want to convey to someone? Who is it? Who is that person? And I like what Lachelle said. I mean, really, that's important. Sometimes you're writing for your best friend. Sometimes you're writing for, your dad. But it ends up that everybody across the globe will align with that message, whatever it is. So I just wanted to kind of share a little bit about that.
Beautifully said. Tracy, I agree with you. So we love the idea of working backwards. I think, knowing, one of the show just said that she's writing, her mom's writing a book for the family. That's legitimate. You haven't got to aim for, the world, so the teenage audience or any other audience. As long as you're writing for someone. I'm going to benefit, like you say, Jay. In the end, that can ripple out. The effects can ripple out to other people who are interested to just whether they're interested just in just a format or in your story. But we have to have someone in mind, Jay. I agree with you on that. We have to have a clear picture. It's like, who do I actually want to read this book? If you have no one in mind, I don't think you actually ever get to write the book. That's what I find. People who say, I don't care about selling this book. I don't care about anyone reading my book. They don't finish books. The books just stay there. They keep ruminating because they have no end in mind, Jay. They have nowhere to work to. They just carry on. What's the word? Pontificating. It gives me a headache. But they have ideas. Some people start writing the books, and then they tell you I'm writing another book at the same time. Now they got 4 books on the go. You're like, finish one, please. Without no focus, without a clear audience, I hear you loud and clear, my friend. I'm not going to agree with you about Lord of the Rings, Jay, ever. I don't like films. I'm never going to watch films, right? Tracy, you too.
I just want Jay to tell us a story because he has the most interesting stories. So like he literally could do a book about just like short fiction, which is a genre I love. My short fiction class in my undergraduate degree, I still keep in touch with my professor, and he is going through major dementia right now. And he still has in his calendar to reach out to me because I've always reached out to him. He was like, I'm not sure that I know who you are, but I know that you're a good student of mine, and I love that you like books. And like he's very old now, but I love short fiction. I love it, and I think Jay would be amazing at it. So carry on.
Jay, that's a call to action, right?
So Joni, I mentioned the science fiction thing that I did in the indigenous language, right? But I'll share with you the concept. Really, what it was it's futuristic, and essentially China, right, is looking in the desert and finds this alien tech. And the alien tech apparently allows them to travel in time. And so what happens is they go to Guam, right, in 1976. And why is that date important? Well, the island was hit by a super typhoon that destroyed a lot of utilities and a lot of homes in that time frame. And so that weather phenomenon actually coincides with the travel in time. And I just never got to go to the next series because it was one-time anthology. But I thought about, translating it into English and then making it a series. But thank you for the accolades.
Yeah, no, look, I think like all books, Jay, yours combines fantasy, history, I'm sure a bit of experience in there as well, right? But unless we're interested in to actually to tell the story, it's hard to write a book and write another one, because there's that interest that's something that's missing. Look,
because also you draw from your own experience. Right. So Jay has some experience. But there's a super typhoon, Pamela.
He may go on converting.
Yeah, that's right. It is Super Typhoon family. You're right.
It may find, as Julius did, it might find the motivation to start telling these stories and turn them into something. Really, that's what I hope today would do for someone. Someone leave here and go, yeah, I can do this. I know where to start. So we're coming towards the end. Yeah, well, look, my friend Tracy, I'll come to you first, and then to everyone else. I guess I'm curious to know where you found your secret sauce, the thing in your book that others have not done. Is that a thing, or am I barking up the wrong tree? If it's a thing, then please do so. Give us an idea. Let's talk to Tracy first, and I'll go around the room.
I'm scared because I only wrote one chapter, and many of you have many books here. But
you are an author, Tracy. You are an author.
Thank you. I can't write about myself. Therefore, my chapter I wrote about my mom, and through her story, I came along. Just a little bit part. That leaves me a little bit more room for future writing. I want to really write about myself. I just, first time ever writing something. It is hard. It is honestly very hard. So I like to write in the third person, not I. It doesn't happen to me. But anyway, I really wanted to tell all these fellow writers. I also wrote it in the comments. So if you have a great idea and you think people will like it, but you are not sure about it, what do? You read out aloud your first chapter. If you don't get it, anybody fall asleep, continue. Thank you, Annie.
I like that. Most people fall asleep, reading their chapter. They fall asleep when they're reading the story. But I think that's a good way of looking at it. I say that because I think as authors, our biggest gift is not even the book. Our biggest gift is finding our voice. Those who find their voice have more impact. And they make more money doing speaking. That's where if you can speak your book, you can speak your message. I think you're away. Now, many people they write the book, they hide away. You never see that. You don't see them hold the book ever again. So I hear that. Look, I want to, I guess, acknowledge that AI is in our midst, my friend. In other words, many ideas these days come from AI. Natalie, as I see, as Natalie says, let's say there's many different topics that we can work on. I'm sure. Right. The thought of AI writing a book, it makes me feel ill in the belly. It makes me feel genuinely ill because I think, AI is good for some things, but it's bland. Hence my question to you, my friends. Where do we find that our secret sauce? The thing that AI can't do. Who wants to go first? Jay, I think you were muted earlier, right?
Yeah. So the secret sauce, really, Joni said it. It's the insights and experiences that you have, right? That's the thing that AI doesn't have. That's the secret sauce. And really, that's why I wrote the book, the rules of engagement and storytelling, because I thought it was appropriate right now in this moment because of AI. We need to, as human beings, rely on the insights and experiences that we have to tell our stories. We shouldn't be allowing or relying on AI's algorithms to say how we feel. And ultimately it's going to come from us. Even if we're writing the prompts, though, that's coming from us. But how it's written, the style, the tone, all of that stuff comes from deep within sometimes.
Yeah.
And so there's no algorithm or anything that can mimic your experiences.
I agree. I totally agree with you, my friend. And so we have to learn to trust ourselves enough to put down what we do know. And I think but it comes down to what you do, Joe, which is storytelling. It's about telling your story. That's what your book really is. Look, I love AI for what I use it for. I use AI to create videos I can't create myself. I don't want to employ film craft. I don't use AI to correct anything. I don't use AI to create content. It's bland. It's general. It's even trying to do cover design with AI, Jay. Trying to do design of a flyer. They're the most boring things. My event descriptions. I'm like, why do people go there? They're all the same.
Right. Oh my gosh, it's the same. And you'll know immediately when you see it. The color palette is the same. The positioning is the same, right? So the foreground, background. I can tell an AI. I'm not an expert, but I can tell an AI generated artwork or cover when I see it. And so that's the thing. It's like it has to come from a soul, not an algorithm, to me. But I will say this: you're right, Annie. It can be used as a tool. And I said this on Tracy's show, and I'm actually working on a platform that uses AI to help people use the rules of engagement in storytelling. So there's an app that I'm developing right now with the using AI in it to help coach people on the rules of engagement in storytelling. So there's a use for it, but is it going tactile, right? It's important to use. It's a good tool, just like the internet and Google and, browsers are. But should you use all of those things and rely on it? No, it should come from yourself, your experiences, and you're not an algorithm.
Again, I agree 100%. I totally agree. I put the link for your book in the comments, Jay. So if anyone's going to check out the rules of storytelling, please do go along. The rules of engagement in storytelling, the compass of 10 easy rules to navigate your life. And Jay's book is all about how to tell stories in different contexts. Again, maybe one of the things that I'm curious about these days is adding humor to what we do. So I'm going to start public speaking. I realize, we can all be quite bland and boring, right? I think adding humor could be the creativity, the creative bits that AI can't do, that only we can do. But that's only if you're funny. I'm not funny. I'm funny to myself. I'm funny to my family. I'm funny to my friends. But in public and public speaking, I don't know. When I tried it networking, it didn't work. I could tell jokes, I would laugh, but the rest of the room didn't laugh. But when you got 50 people looking at you, and they're like, they get it. You don't want to get it. Maybe I got quirky humor. Leshelle, what's your thoughts? What's your secret sauce, Leshelle? What's your thing that you add to your books that others can't do?
For me, I love what everybody has shared. I would say giving up the control when you write. Don't focus on trying to lead someone to a certain thought process. Just be authentic in sharing, because you never know what part of your story is going to resonate with the reader. So if you try to control that from the very beginning, you may not connect with anybody. So just focus on sharing your experience authentically and being vulnerable and not holding anything back. I think is what's important, because people will connect with that. They will feel that when they read, and you'll be amazed at how it really impacts other people. The things that you think are not important, people find important. And the things that you think are important, people don't care about. So just be authentic.
The readers and readers and authors, we aim for the best, but sometimes the readers
don't try to force it.
You're breaking up a bit. So I think we might have lost the show, but let me do my. Hopefully, Leshelle will come back.
Spinning around.
We'll lost it for a second, Leshelle. We lost it for a second. So I'm glad this
I was going to say, I couldn't hear what you said.
Okay.
We're losing you. You hang out.
Your signal is playing up. Your signal is in and out. So let's give it another 5.
I can share an intro for so I am writing a cookbook, but I'm also writing a kind of it's a mystery, it's fiction, but it's based on kind of some of my life. And so that's kind of what Jay was talking about. Like, you write about what you know about. So I can read the first paragraph I wrote, so you guys can say like if this brings you to the scene, and then go from there. Is that okay, Annie?
Go for it. No, I say that I should pay you really, but you go for it, please.
Okay. So honestly, it's okay. So here goes. All right. This was my earliest memory. It was the summer of 1985. I was just 3 years old, caught in the whirl of endless childhood adventures. My cousins ran wild through the yard, their laughter cutting through the hum of cassette tapes being spliced by my Uncle Mark in the house. Out by the pool, my granddad floated on his back, a cigarette dangling from his mouth, his thick Irish chest hair billowing in the breeze like a badge of school pride. Nearby, Grandma Liz sat wrapped up in a soft afghan, slowly savoring a fudgesicle, the quiet calm in the middle of all the chaos. It was a perfect moment for me, warm, hazy, and unmistakably 1980s.
Yeah, I can understand that. Thank you.
Can you get yourself there?
Yeah, thank you. No, so which book is that story?
It's just a new story I've started to write, but that is my earliest memory, but it's not going to be purely my story. It's going to turn into more murder mystery.
Yay, you, Joni. That's what says Sharon Rose. Sharon, I'm totally with you. The humor is transformative. Yes, I agree with you. I'm not sure I agree in that. Not everyone's meant to write books. I think everyone's got a story. Everyone's got something that they have that others don't know. So I would say that everyone has something to share with the world. So it comes down to where I started today. Do you want to tell that story? And do you think anyone's going to be interested in it? If you say yes to those two things, then I say write your story, right? No, I hear you. I think Jay said also the secret sauce, the creative bit, it comes as you go. It's many of us want to be genius writers on day one. Want to be genius writers before we start writing our book. As Michelle said, don't pull that. Just focus on telling your story. Creative bits will come along in the process. Many creative bits will come along after editing, maybe at editing. So, to explain slide as quick as I can. So, you write your book, it comes to someone like me. I say, go and talk to my editor, send the book to them. They will read it. They will help make sure it makes sense. They'll suggest how you can add better stories, better bits, sometimes better humor or some humor. So I'm saying that's when you might suddenly come up with something else. I can't say I like you coming up with something else because it screws up my process. So I want you to publish your book in the end, right? Now Joni came up suddenly. We'll finish her last book, and she's like, "Any add this chapter." I'm like, She goes, "Well, you told me to. Now I've written it, so I'm kind of screwed, right?" No, I'm saying I don't like people changing stuff halfway through, but that's life, right?
It's hard. It's hard not to want to continue to evolve in any book.
I agree.
It is hard.
I agree. It's hard, but there's always book 2, book 3, book 4. When are you finishing a book before you get to reading that Calm? I hope Calm's read my book already. I think he bought my book months ago. Calm, have you read the book? I'll leave that alone. No, so the old man I spoke to the other day, a couple of days ago, he told me he got about 1,000 ebooks on his computer. Look, don't buy books and don't read them, my friends. Get a screen reader. It's easy. That's what's going to read your books for you. And then just do your best to at least start them. That's what I said. At least start them, read the first paragraph, read the first page, read the first 10 pages. You may carry on, you may not. I'm saying at least don't just buy them and leave them there, because you never know what's in them. That may be where you find inspiration. For me, so when I'm writing something, this has been my story since I was a kid. If I'm writing an essay at school, for example, when I open a book, whether it's a textbook, whether it's a picture book, a storybook, I always find something I can take to help me to finish what I was writing. It doesn't always, it's not a transformation of bit always, but it's just something that, whether it's a quote, whether it's a way of thinking, whether it's a concept. Let's learn to read more. That way we can get some of this inspiration that we're talking about today. Tracy, let's come to you. Tracy, I suppose,
I was busy commenting because I just typed it up. I just discovered the unparalleled feature of commenting. You can comment unlimitedly, right? And you don't interrupt anybody, and you're free to do anything you want, emojis, anything. And I want to share one proverb that we say in Chinese when I was growing up. Only borrowed books can be read, because you have the sense of urgency, right? Once you own a book, you put on the shelf next to your bed, you don't have the urgency to finish it. We often open up a few chapters and it just dwell on the place forever, right? It occupies your coffee table, your bookshelf. And unless the book is super entertaining, you can get it done in 2 hours. Otherwise, it may take a month or even years to finish. But on the other hand, if you go to the library, you find a book that's very interesting, keep on reading it, you only got 2 weeks, right? You can renew for another 2 or 3 weeks, but you don't want to do a renewal. You just want to get it done. And once you like it, you can go and get a book, keep a copy on your shelf. That's how it works. But now with the ebook, audiobook, everything available, you don't have to go to a library, or you download a chapter, a sample from Amazon, and you know you like it or not. Thank you.
No, thank you. You come into way, my friend. I think he's there, right? And I was laughing as you were talking, because I used to go and get books from the library. Do I confess now? Okay, I'll confess now. I never used to return them, Tracy. I had no intention of, because they're mostly textbooks, and I didn't. If I liked it, I was going to keep it. Of course, they would write to me and tell me, "Naughty boy, we want our book back." But I just never did. That's just me. But I think there's something about our digital books these days, Tracy, that people can just leave in a Kindle library and never see it again. I see mine. I make sure I read every book, because otherwise, my friends would ask me, have you read my book? And I'd be like, Jack and Nori stories. I don't do things like that. I have to say, yes, I've read the book, and look, I think the things to find what works for you. Audiobooks, they're perfect. You can listen to them everywhere, in the car, on your walks, so you can listen to them wherever you are. That's why I like audiobooks. But even say about ebooks, I will read them. I have to read. More chance I'll buy a print book and buy the ebook as well, because the ebook can play. I can listen to the ebook whilst looking at the print book if I want to, or just looking at the cover. Are you with me? I got books. They're still there, and there are many of them. I think I got 6 books I should be reading. I started reading. It's where we are. But I think great advice though, Tracy. So we do need to actually get reading. Otherwise, what's the point of having all those books? I don't know. Yes, it helps us that you buy them, but there's secrets in books. That's what I love so much, Tracy. All the secrets are in books. And some of them they're in our books. And I love that, really. That's a reality. Let's not be shy about telling those stories. Let's not be shy about getting our books out. Let's do it. Let's be more like Joni. Let's love our books and want everyone to hear our story. Well done, Joni. Thank you so much for being a superstar. There's so many great comments. Sharon Rose, okay, I get it. Not everyone's meant to be an author. Yeah, maybe not. Tell your story, yes. Dancers, singers, painters, decorators, knowledge people, they specialists, they can all tell the stories, right? I think they have something that people need to learn. That's my point, Sharon, Matt and Sharon Rose. We can all tell our stories. Now, you got a story to tell, man. You got more than one story to tell. And I think the thing that I think is worth saying is, as soon as you start writing books, as soon as you're writing your first book, your second one comes so much quicker after that. Joni's already written 3 books. I'm saying, she talked about writing books for years, and so now suddenly cookbooks is coming next. I know book 2. Yeah.
And I've written 4 songs now.
So when you do what Eni does, you can see into people's lives. So as I was doing Joni's life story book, I'm like, okay, down to the last chapter. This book is going to finish soon. And I find out Joni's put 60 recipes in there. 60. So I'm like, damn, Joni, damn you. You're writing a cookbook, so why have you put it all in here? No, but I'm just funny.
Because that was just for my children and family.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, I'm being funny. It's, I know why it's useful, right? And it makes it makes a book not just about your story. There's something there for people. Who want recipes, who want gardening tips. So yeah, you have to read Joni's book when it comes out. So we're just about to, we haven't pressed the button yet on the print book. The ebook is out there.
Not yet. The font is terrible.
Yes, all the fonts are terrible to you, Joni. Until you say what font.
Mean, okay. I have problem with fonts.
Yes, yeah. Well, you have to find the one you want. What do you know? I'm going to use a font that works. That's what I care about, right?
We'll figure.
Then you have to say change. Yeah, we'll work it out for sure. Look, my friends, thank you, Michael. Anything you want to add before we go? Why is my YouTube?
I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for joining us, my friends. Look,
I'm good too. Thank you.
Yeah, I've come to you. I'm sure I come to you twice, Tracy. I'm sure I have, right? And we'll get a lot from your comments. Where do we get the book that you're in, Tracy? Is it audio book or is there a print version as well? Tracy, where do we get the book that you're in?
The book is published last year, and after I bought Tim Coffey's of my share, I just sent that out. I only kept 1 copy here, and I think I'm going to spend some time to audio my own book and put it on LinkedIn so you guys can listen to it, and it's also a good practice for myself because lately I haven't been doing a lot of audio recording because I discovered I have some breathing issues, so I need to do some breath work, really to bring out my inner strength, like Jay, being so powerful. I may never achieve that level, but I think in your show I shared that before that not every book is audible, but with Jay, that storyteller, almost 99% of books are audible.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Thank you so much, Eni.
I'm looking at Jay's book. So it was 350 pages, but it came down to 240 pages in the end. So I'm sure he would love to look at how to convert that into an audiobook. I think it could be a useful thing. Our readers want books in different formats, so for sure, let's give them what they want if I actually want to sell books. That's Jay's book, by the way, in case you wonder. So I do love Jay's book. I love all the books that we get to work with. Jay's book is it's worth getting for sure. So Jay also works on covers these days, so I'm all right with that. Now, my friends, thank you so much. You're superstars. You made my day as always. There was naturally that alarm thing didn't go off on my phone, so the government were doing an alarm alert test today. They're meant to send a beep to everyone's phone that's going to alert us something's going on. My phones I've got 2 phones and none of them made a noise. Oh well, what can I say? maybe I'm destined to die a horrible death somewhere. Quietly. No, maybe in front of all of you, right? The government won't care. Look, my friends, enjoy. Thank you so much. So I said, I have got this show tomorrow. Are you prepared to die? Do join us. It's a book. Of course, it's a book. The book is called Before We Die, Our Final Chapter. So how do we prepare for our death? Then,
Okay.
Who clocked it earlier? Someone clocked. Crystal Bay clocked it very straight away. She's like, "Wow, we have to live first." I'm like, "Yes, that's the story in the book. Now you have to prepare to die. You have to learn how to live." And so the book is all about how you live with compassion, with understanding. Of course, we're going to the final moments. What do you do when someone is on a deathbed? What do you say to them? I know how can you show compassion and kindness? And this is also practical stuff that we're going to talk about in our rooms. Our book launches on the 17th. Do come and get a copy. And for $1.99, I think. Yeah, $1.99. For 99 cents US. So $125 here. So I think $150 thereabouts in the US. Do come and get your copy, my friends.
My question for you, Annie, is did you pee in the bucket list?
Did I pee in what?
On the bucket list.
I'm leaving my bucket list, I think. There's not many things on there that I haven't done. But maybe it's time to create a better bucket list. Maybe that's the answer. Because
we can talk about it tomorrow.
Yes, for sure. No, we will. That's part of the things that's in the book. Have you done the things on your bucket list? Do you even have a bucket list? We should. You can't be ready to die if you haven't done the things that you really want to do, right? I love the book, and I love. There's not many books like it. Everyone shies away from death. Let's be brave, because the one thing I can guarantee all of us, my friends, that we're going to die one day. It's whether we want to do it blind and scared, or whether we want to do it with eyes wide open and with the intention of living our lives first. Anyway, join us tomorrow, my friends. Natalie, it's 3:00. It's 4:00 our time. It's 11:00 Eastern. I'll send you the links. Of course I will, because I love all of you to join our events. So thank you so much, everyone. Tracy, you're the star. You're the star of the show. I still want those backgrounds, Tracy. I don't know, but I don't really. I like mine.
If I were the star, you will be the sun or moon, if you like.
It's so sweet. You know when you mentioned the book there, why do I have the same background the other day, Tracy? I saw the book. Someone messaged me and said, "Send me the link to buy the book."
Of course you will. That was the point.
I tell you, keep doing it, my friend. Keep doing it, my friends. Enjoy your Friday. Enjoy your weekend. I'll see you again in 2 weeks' time. We'll talk about let's talk about markets. Looking at your markets for inspiration. What does that mean? How do we actually do it? There's steps to do it. So let's talk about that next time. Take care. Look, if you want to put your books links in the comments, you're more than welcome to do so. Everyone here in the audience or on stage, put your link in the comments. The people actually want to buy your books, right? Take care, everyone. Take care. I'll put with let me share one of my sponsors as we go. Bye, everyone.
Hi, my name is Donna Martin, and for those of you that might not be familiar with me yet, I am CEO of The Good Life Approach, and what I do is help people best to thrive in those micro moments, in those real-time moments when life happens and takes over. So this video is about me introducing you a bit to me and to what I've created in terms of the Daily Reset. This is burnout prevention course for busy individuals. Doesn't matter your profession, doesn't matter where you've come from, doesn't matter about your background, your knowledge, your skill set, any of that. What matters is where you are and where you are choosing to be. If you're somebody that is consistently coming up against it and allowing your external outer world to dictate your results, the Daily Reset will support you in bringing you back to your present moment and deciding intentionally how you choose to reset so that the impact of whatever's going on doesn't continue to impact your day. That's the power of mind shifting. That's the power of self-awareness. And that is the power of understanding who you are, how you operate in terms of your physical body function, your mechanical mind, and the spiritual soul side of you. This isn't magic, it's intentional manifesting. And those daily resets, those wins, those successes that you choose to create for your own version of the good life all start with simple, easy, go-to tools that are all packed inside the daily reset. Feel free, if this calls you, to check it out.